How is everyone? Alright. Pretty stoked to show you guys these songs. That's great. What's up? I'm just chilling, about to do this workshop. Alex is totally right. Spend all your time in the studio. Yeah, man, alter ego. Let's go. What's up, Dan? Shout out my man, Cavern. So, one more minute, and then it should be time to go and show you this whole song. What's up, Igor? Yeah, so it's 8 o'clock. Should I just stop or start? Stop. Before I start, maybe if anyone has any questions, maybe I should answer those first. I'm not gonna. Well, the Hive Mind is kind of wave, but it's a bit louder, like harder than usual wave. But I also, to be honest, I don't really make that much normal wave stuff these days. But perhaps perhaps someday I will show you a wave project. But now it's gonna be this track, Overdose, and my newest track, Hive Mind. It came out last Friday. But yeah, I think it's time to hop in. The first thing I like to say about this project, and it's something I don't really see all too often, honestly, is that everything is like grouped in colors, as you can see. And well, yeah. So the plan for this song is I'm gonna show you all the different elements. I'm gonna show you the mixdown. I'm gonna show you the mastering. I'm gonna show you the sound design of all the different elements. Today I won't go over the mixdown of wave, and I will definitely show you the sound design. So I guess I should hop in now. As I was saying before, everything is sorted by color, and it's not something I see too often. And to me, it's actually very convenient because it lets me navigate through a project way quicker and easier. And if you don't do it yet, I do really recommend you do it because it's it makes the whole process quick, and also giving things a name helps a lot. So that's one thing I wanted to say before I really went into the project. And yeah, I do master most of my own stuff. So I will show you the master later on when I'm going through the song. I have 45 minutes for each song, so there's definitely plenty of time to show you everything. So yeah, first I'll show you the intro elements. So there's these little melodic things playing. So the first things you hear mostly now is this pluck right here, which is just massive. It's actually pretty simple. Just a saw, 2 voices, some detuning, and an envelope on a low pass filter, which gives it more of a plucky sound. And then there's this other little, very little pluck from FM8, I think this is really just a preset that I got from someone. Um, Honestly, I don't even really know that well how FMA works, but I just got a whole bunch of presets from a friend of mine from Cosmo, remnant.exe. And I think it's from this pack that he gave me. It's like all DX7 presets, and I just took one, picked one out and went with it. Like honestly, if you ask me, if you do it in the right way, there's really no shame in using a preset. Like to me, at least if your drop is like still all your own sound design, but intro stuff, melodic things. I really think like if you can use the preset in a good way and still make it like work in the context of your own song, I think it really is okay to do that. What does having two EQs do just to yeah, so basically first this one I use to just cut off everything under 100 hertz because there's always like just there can always be something happening, especially after compression, which I also didn't even show you. I use this compressor just to flatten the sound a little, make it a little louder, like just squish it a little. And then this EQ I use to get out all of the muddy whatever there is happening under 100 hertz because that can mess up in the master. And then I use this one to round off the lowest mids, or like even just the lowest frequencies of the sound, because or else they were a little too loud in my opinion. So I like using a low cut, like a soft low cut, just to like cut off these lower frequencies and to kind of flatten out the sound a little more. So yeah, that was that. And then yeah, this little pluck right here, it's super soft coming from FM8. So I just use I just use the utility to just pump it up to just make it loud. And then Igor and then and then I just put a delay on, some ping pong, kind of all speaks for itself. And then a low cut here again to get rid of all the stuff that happens here. But yeah, the utility is just to make it loud. It's really simple as that. And then both this pluck and the FM8 thing go to my reverb send. Let's see. They're both fully sending into my reverb send, which is this. It's Toraverb. It's my favorite reverb plugin. I use it in every song. I guess to get these frequencies out a little more, I decided to boost here a little. And then I did the same thing as with this one, where I kind of, shave off some mids because or else they would be too much. So yeah, that's that. Then there's this thing. This acid type of bass that comes up throughout the intro, which you can see I low cut it here. Oh wait, I'll show you the sound first. So it's a saw. It goes through the DAFT filter in massive, and then I use the hard clipper right here to distort it, and that gives it more of like an acid type of sound. And actually, if you want to make acid in massive, I recommend using the acid filter, but in this case, the DAFT filter works pretty well. So yeah, it comes up, and then here you can hear the whole thing. Compressed it, put a little bit of reverb on it to make it a bit more stereo because the sound itself is mono. And then more reverb to wash it out. As you can see, it automates. The dry wet automates all the way to wet towards the drop, just to wash it out. Let's see what else I did. Some auto pan, because finally here it changes into a riser. I used the pitch bend function, and then auto pan comes in. You can hear that it washes out because of the reverb. So yeah, that's that. Let's see what else. Some OTT, 78%. Here I got rid of a bunch of mids. And then there's this filter that closes, or it actually opens, because here, fully low passed. So this thing just goes throughout the whole intro, and I think it works because like since it's going throughout the whole intro, I guess you memorize it faster, or it's like more prominent in the song because it's like in the very beginning, and then here the whole thing opens up and it also changes into a riser, and then these two plucks they're just in the intro, I guess, to create like a theme. But this acid thing goes throughout the whole intro and the break. Oh no, not even the beginning of the break. But I guess it's like one of the main intro elements. So, it's always good to have something that goes throughout the whole, like a whole section of a song to make it like really part of it. Then let's see what else happens. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. I wasn't, yeah, so here. That's massive. This is the detuned one. As I explained earlier, just a saw, low pass filter, and some detuning. Then there's the acid thing. Saw wave, another low pass filter to give it like that. See? The low pass filter is what gives it, or the dash filter. It's basically a low pass filter. Is what gives it the acid sound together with the hard clipper over here. And then there's the FM8 preset that I used. I find it really hard to navigate through FM8. There's not really much I can show you. It's just a nice preset. Oh, here you can see it's 3 voices unison, some detuning. So yeah, that's that. See if is the pluck set as sends only, or does it play both the track and the send together? Yeah, it's both the track and the send. Because the send only plays the send is only the reverb. The reverb is set to 100% wet. So the original track, without the send, it's completely dry. Or, well, except for this delay over here. But yeah, the reverb is completely wet. I mean, I think that this is how you should be using a send if you're doing it with like reverbs or delays. It should be like...
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
The send should be 100% wet. But if you're, for example, trying to do like New York style compression, or you want to like send into a distortion channel, no, actually, even then, it should always, the send should be 100% wet, because you don't want the source signal to be in the send as well. The source signal has its own track, which is the original signal. And then that goes into a send, and the send is 100% wet of the effect that you have put on the send. So yeah, I should get more into FM8. I hear a lot of good things about it. I know a lot of dubstep producers use it, but for FM stuff, I've really been just using Operator. Like, whenever I do FM, which I honestly don't do that often. Because FM8, I just don't really like the way it looks, and like navigating the synth to me is not... I don't really enjoy it, not as much as like Massive or, for example, Razor in Reactor, I don't know, like FM8 is not really... It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but I just got those presets, which I was talking about earlier, and I was like, okay, let me just dig through and see what I can find. So then I found the bell and just used that. Other things that happen in the intro, this impact right here, just a Vengeance sample, another Vengeance sample, some reverb to wash it out a bit more, auto pan, and then there's this thing. Oh, this is interesting. Basically what I did here, I used the Ableton sampler as a granular synth by just looping part of a Vengeance sample. So it pitches from up all the way down. Or no, not even all the way. It pitches halfway down, and then it picks up from the lowest note here. And then there's the granulate that gives it a cool texture. utility to turn it up, a low cut, another low cut to shave off the mids, some compression to keep the volume up of the thing, low cut, delay. Yeah, making risers this way is a lot of fun because you get to make sounds that you probably would never find this in a sample pack, you know? And basically this way you can take whichever sample you want and turn it into a riser just by looping a small part and pitch bending it, putting grain delay on it, doing all kinds of crazy stuff with it. Like, you can process it any way possible, you know? So it basically gives you like unlimited possibilities for making a riser instead of just using a sample. You know, or like a 32 or 16 bar downlifter or riser. So definitely, if you have never done this before, try it. It's really cool. I'm pretty sure that in FL or other DAWs, you can just use the sampler and loop part of a sample and pitch it up and down and stuff and make a riser that way. It's really cool. You could make some really interesting stuff with it, or even for like other sounds like basses or whatever. It works pretty well. And then there is this reverse cymbal, just another sample, low cutted, delay. Then there is another riser and downlifter, reverb to wash it out. I love putting flangers on white noise. Oh wait, this thing isn't even on. I wasn't even using it in the song, I guess. That's funny. Or maybe it's just turned off for whatever reason. I don't even know. But yeah, this kind of stuff sounds really cool. Flanger on white noise, really one of my favorite things. I do it in every song. And as you can see, this V-Dub2 downlifter, it's here as well, and it's here as well. It's just white noise, you know, so I like to use it in every song. Then, the second part of the intro, or wait, here, you can hear part of the bass. I'll show you the bass in a second, actually. So here it's just a one shot of the bass. Then what else happens? Do you put much thought into how loud intros should be, or what frequencies are allowed in the intro just to give the chorus drop more impact? I definitely try to think about it. I was actually having the same conversation with Remnant.exe about this, because, for example, like Zomboy, his intros are always super loud. They're like just as loud as the drop. And every time I try to do this, it almost sounds as if the drop loses power. But I guess there's a certain technique to be able to do it, to have your intro be really loud without it like being more powerful than the drop. I personally find it pretty hard to do. You know, I often end up just turning down my intro elements because I don't want it to be louder than my drop. And I also definitely try to keep any kind of like real sub bass out of my intros. Definitely never have sub bass in my intros, because the sub bass is part of the drop, and sub bass is one of the reasons the drop should stand out, you know, because it's where there's a lot of bass. So I definitely try to never use sub bass in my intros. And also, like, that acid bass, I think I also low cut it here again, because I just don't want it to have too much low end. As you can see, the fundamental is actually lower in volume than the harmonics, which to me is like a way to definitely have there be contrast between the intro elements and the drop. So yeah, that's that. Then here there's a snare, just a Vengeance dubstep snare, compressed it. There's a low pass filter for whatever reason. I'm not even using it in the song. I left the project as it is right as I finished the song, so there's definitely like some like things in it that aren't even in like the final export. And then a low cut again, because the compression brings up more of the like muddy stuff. And for some reason, when you low cut with the Ableton EQ, there's still some stuff happening. But I mean, since it's an intro element, I was like, not gonna worry too much about it. So yeah, just a snare. This one is called dingetje. Dingetje in Dutch is thing or thingy. Oh, what the hell? The thing cut off. Did my internet just clonk out? Oh, I think my internet just clonked out. Sorry. Okay. Do you use sub bass in verses, or how do you cover that part? I'll show you the sub bass after I show this little intro thing. So this is, I like to call these things dots for some reason, because they literally sound like a dot. It's really just like a little zap, you know? Just playing 16ths, then a delay, you know, to give it like that cool, like, sort of pitch down effect. You know, very short decay length. And some filters. Let's see what else. There's the white noise again. Uplifter. I use this one in every song. Oh wait. It's really just the riser. Just a white noise thing. Then there's this little chip sample. Delay on it. Yeah, that's really nothing special either. It's just a little thing that I found. Again, no shame in using like samples or presets if you can use them the right way. I mean, obviously a sample like this, what else are you going to do with it, you know? And like you could basically try to make the same thing in a synth, but if you're going to be making the same thing as an existing sample, then why not just use the sample? Let's see what else. Reverse cymbal. I think this is another. Oh look. So I took a riser and also had it play 16th notes and pitched it up. Let's see. What's this? Oh, this is later in the song. Just all kinds of, you know, little things. Like, I feel like in like heavy dubstep, the suspense that you build in your buildup is pretty important. So I definitely try to like layer things. And something I noticed, which does work, is if you try to have a sound playing, if you like divide it, so like one sound plays every 2 bars, another sound plays every bar, another sound plays half a bar, and then another sound plays every beat, and then you go to 8th notes and then to 16th notes, and that way you can like fill the whole thing all with like rhythmic things happening, and it builds suspense, you know. So that's definitely a technique that I kind of discovered while, you know, making all these like EDM type energetic tunes. What's the design of those dots, please? Yeah, they're literally just the. Wait, let me find it. Low cut, delay. See, without the delay, it just sounds like this. So it's a pretty cool effect. And then automation, you know, speaks for itself, because here it opens. So that's the low pass and the high pass opening up. So yeah, that's the dot. So yeah, let's move on to the drop. I'm going to show you the bass first. I'm pretty sure that this is what most of you have been waiting for. As you can hear, there's no sub. So, this is a screech. Saw, low pass, resonance to the max. The resonance is what gives it the tone. You see? So if you turn it up, then that's the sound that you get. And as you see, the cutoff filter basically gives it the pitch. And then for distortion, I used the Ableton amp. I just chose the heavy setting. It works really well. I really love it. Oh yeah, my plugins. I'm sorry. So yeah, just a saw. I'm sorry, it was behind my webcam again. I should forget it. So yeah, just a saw, low pass filter, resonance to the max. Nothing else really happening here. Just made sure that restart via gate is on so that it doesn't like phase. Just to make sure that it starts at the right moment in the sound itself every time that it plays a note. That it starts at like the same point in the wavetable. So yeah. And then the cutoff is what gives it the pitch. As you can see here, I automated it to change the pitch of it basically. And then here it goes through a vocoder. Just makes it a little less harsh. It kind of gives it an interesting sound, in my opinion. EQ. Got rid of some mids. 2 vocoders I didn't use. OTT 100%. Low cut. Because here, this is where the sub sits, which I'll be showing you in a minute. And cut off some more mids. So that's that sound. And then there's this one. The pitch fall. So as I was just explaining, the when it goes down in pitch, that's the cutoff frequency of the low pass filter in massive. Look, wait, I'll just play it and you'll be able to see that it moves down. See? So it's really just the pitch. Because the resonance, since the resonance is always up, or since it's all the way up, it creates a peak. And when it runs through distortion, the peak becomes like the tone of the sound. So yeah. That's how I did that. So yeah, the pitch is automated. It's the cutoff frequency. And then there's this sound. I guess this is like the main sound. It's a square going through a low pass filter and a scream filter, and these together, I'll show it to you without the distortion on. It sounds so weird. So there's an LFO on it that I automated the time of. And here again, the resonance of these two filters is what causes the tone. So once it goes through distortion, it sounds like that. And this is actually something I started learning a lot by making hardstyle kicks, because, you know, like everyone knows, or at least producers know, hardstyle kicks are based off distortion. You know, it's they're really just either a 909 kick or a sine wave with a pitch envelope or whatever, and just distort it to hell, EQ to make peaks, and then running that through distortion and just rinsing and repeating that. And the peaks in the EQ or the resonance and filters is what causes the tone. And then once you run it through distortion, you can make interesting stuff like that. So yeah, it's just a square wave. It's really nothing interesting. The key is the filtering and the distortion. Oh, Massive. Massive has always been the new Serum, even before Serum was out. Yeah, I still use Massive all the time. I barely ever use Serum. I think Massive is I love how simple it is, you know, and it's also the plugin that I kind of learned producing with for the most part. So I just love using it. Then the rest of the sound, it's basically the same as the Screech. Vocoder, EQ, got rid of mids, 2 vocoders I didn't use. Then here I EQ'd off the side, which I don't know why, because the whole sound is mono. Like, this really doesn't make any sense. Maybe because I was making the sound and first had it in stereo and decided to try that. Also, oh wait, I should not forget to move my plugins to the right. But anyway, another thing with sounds like this, I sound designed them with the distortion already on, because finally I know I'm going to make something with distortion. So I'll design the whole sound with distortion on instead of trying to make something cool before pulling it through distortion. I'll literally just open Massive, throw on the Ableton amp, and then I'll start designing the sound and like try to create an interesting timbre with like the filters and whatever else I want to do. This is just one voice and filters and distortion. Is it possible to create pitch fall through automating the pitch MIDI effect? How would I do that? How would I do that with other sounds? Yeah, so I mean the reason I did the pitch fall with not with the pitch of the sound itself is because this way, when I use the cutoff filter, the fundamental of the sound keeps the same pitch, but the filter goes down, which it's not even actual pitch. It's really just the filter with the resonance up. And that way the sound itself actually keeps the same pitch, but the screech goes down in pitch because the filter goes down. So yeah. Then here I grouped the main sound, this one, and the screech. I grouped them, put them through Ozone. Just some basic stereoizing. And then there's this other group of sounds. Let's see. So these are just fills. I think they actually use the exact same processing as the other sounds. Oh yeah. Amp, vocoder, EQ. Amp, vocoder, EQ, OTT, low cut. Some utility to turn it up. But yeah, these are also just these sounds, they're like the little fill sounds. That one. And this one. And this one. They're all made the same way as the main sounds. Low pass, LFO. That's how I like created the pattern that it goes through. And then distortion and the other processing. I see a lot of plugins that are deactivated and Serum Effects being one of them, but I saw OTT deactivated on one. I wonder what is the thinking or process behind if you use Serum Effects or sometimes, or if you throw lots of options into the chain and then use some and don't use others. Yeah, basically when I'm designing a sound, I'll just like try some things out and then I'm like, oh, this doesn't work, so I turn it off again, and that's how like there's a whole bunch of like stray effects throughout the whole project because I was building the sounds and then deciding, oh, I'm not going to use this effect, I'm going to use different processing. So I just turn it off and I forget to delete it. And that's how like a whole bunch of like random things just end up still being in the project, And I admit I should clean it up, which is something I normally would do like nowadays. I should also say this project is pretty old. But yeah, these are just like stray effects that I ended up not using due to my own I guess just being chaotic. Okay, onto the drums. The drums, this is just the click kick from the medicine, one of the medicine packs. EQing. Honestly, I would never EQ a kick like this anymore, or like the way I did it here, especially the low cutting here. I try not to do that. But yeah, so really just a simple kick. The high pass filter for like during the intro. Also, another thing that I should also note, I've been using LFO tool as a sidechain. Let me move it to the right. So yeah, I've just been using LFO tool as the sidechain in this project. And now I don't use it anymore, but in the next song, in Hivemind, I use a different sidechain plugin, but I used to use LFO tool. I used to MIDI trigger it with a ghost channel, which is this one. So here it sends out a MIDI signal to all the channels that have an LFO tool on it. So that's how I sidechain everything. I just wanted to show that real quick. So yeah, kick drum, just the click kick. The snare is interesting because the snare, as you can see, is a whole bunch of different elements. Why wouldn't you EQ a kick like that anymore? Because I want to leave the sample intact as much as I can. I feel like if you feel like you need to process a kick a lot, you should just go for a different sample. So yeah, that's kind of the reason, you know. And I also try to like build a kick out of multiple kicks, you know, like using one kick for the tail and the other one for like the transient. So that also gives you more freedom and you won't have to EQ off like the lows and stuff. So yeah, I think it's better to like for like important elements as a kick drum. I just try to, you know, leave them intact. But this is just my own rule, you know, like it's not like you have to do that or whatever. So yeah, the snare. The snare is pretty interesting because there's a whole bunch of different elements. So this one is just a punch. Use the envelope in the sampler to make it short. Also, no, I'm not using cable guys. I'm using a chain shaper. I'll show you in the next project. So this is just punch. What's up, hey Manu? My guy, isn't it like really early in Australia right now? Mans just came into the chat. Do you put masters or limiters on the midis to prevent clipping? Oh, that's also a thing. Yeah, the basses are grouped and they go through G-clip, which is actually just to make it louder, shaving off the peaks, basically. Shaving off the peaks and then being able to turn up the sound more because it takes up less headroom because you've been shaving off the peaks. So I just pull down the clip until it just starts to sound like shit, and then I'll put it back up again. Oh wait, it's in the... I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to move the plugin to the right. But yeah, so it's G-clip. Shaving off the peaks, you know, pulling down the clip until it starts to distort, and then I'll put the clip up again. And yeah, because then it takes up less headroom in the mix, so you can turn it up more, basically. You can create more loudness with it, which is a very important aspect of like making loud EDM type masters, you know? Like you want shit to be loud, so that's where the clipping or soft clipping can help a lot. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely when I make dubstep, I definitely like to like soft clip several elements just to create more loudness, you know. But back to the snare. Do you like G-clip over using the saturator soft clip function? Yeah, I definitely prefer G-clip more. To me it sounds a bit more transparent than the Ableton soft clipping. But I will say though, for drums, I always like to use the Ableton saturator. I do that in almost every project. I often do it on a snare or a clap just to make it louder. So yeah, snare. This is the punch, and then here is a little bit of the tail, and then this is the transient, also really short. And here I made like a fake snake tail. Or a snake tail. I made like a fake tail for the snare just by using white noise and high passing it a lot and low cutting a little, or high cutting a little. So yeah, it's like basically a fake tail for the snare, just white noise. It works pretty well. And then let's see, here's a clap. Why do you use a drum rack instead of going with single tracks? I'm not using a drum rack. They're all single tracks. It does sound like a snake. Definitely. But I'm not using a drum rack here. They're just grouped. I grouped them because I afterwards processed them together. So I run them through the CLA drums thing, the Waves plugin. Which, as you can hear, really just pumps up the sample a lot. Thank you, Alex. Then I use Decimort for just some, I guess, like some extra whatever's going on in the highs. Or maybe I didn't even use it. See, here's another. It's on. Oh no, I don't even know what I did with this. I guess it just took off a little bit of highs with it. Interesting. It's not something I usually do. As I said before, this project is pretty old, so I don't really necessarily remember everything of it. But I guess that this does some work, can like help shape the highs a little more, because it's basically a bit crusher, you know. Transient master speaks for itself, you know. Bring up the transient a little. Then I compressed it to flatten it out, you know, bring out the tail more. EQing, so took off a bit here because I thought it was too harsh. Shaved up a little of the highs. Saturator to make it loud, which I was just talking about. I always use the Ableton saturator to make drums louder. I have to go quicker through this project. So yeah, hi-hats, you know, they're just samples, transient shaper. Oh yeah, so I don't really enjoy using drum rack because it kind of to me it clogs it's like a bit more I don't know, it feels less hands-on. Like I prefer to have everything have its own track in the mixer. So yeah, I just give I it's just my workflow, you know. It's really I used to use drum rack all the way in the beginning when I started learning Ableton, because I thought, oh yeah, that's cool, you know, like every drum's in one sampler, sounds great. But yeah, no, I rather just give everything its own track because it's a bit more clear for me to see what's happening. So China cymbal, it's from Addictive Drums. I'm on a new computer, I don't have Addictive Drums anymore, so yeah, just China. And yeah, then some white noise from Massive with erosion. Oh no, wait, actually what I did here, I took a sine wave and then put erosion on it, because then erosion basically responds to the sine wave, and then I low cutted it to get rid of the actual sub, or the sine wave that's in it, because without the low cut it's this, and then with the low cut it's just the white noise from erosion. So it's a pretty nice way to make like a white noise that sounds as if it's being pushed away by the bass when really it's just erosion. Yeah, and then, you know, just a little fade in here, and another one here. You know, just some samples to beef it up a little. Do you use the saturator in the whole drum group or individually? Yeah, I often only use the saturator on individual elements. I often only use it to either make a snare or a hi-hats louder because, I don't know, for me it just works well. Usually with my newer songs, I also don't really actually use the drum bus that I have here. Like, I don't really process it that often, but here I did, you know, I used G-Clip to try and make the whole thing louder. You can barely see it, you know, but it's just, you know, shaving off the transients a little, you know, just so I can pump it a little more. I normally get my drums down in rack, then split the sounds up to treat them separately. Yeah, I guess you can do that. I don't know, I just really like having everything in its own track. So then, onto the master, which is what a bunch of you were asking me about as well. So first I use an EQ. What I did here is get rid of the peaks. In Pro Q3, when you hold this down, you can move your mouse away and it'll show you where it peaks. So that's how I did that here, but now I have Soothe, which is a really nice plugin, and it basically does the same thing. So yeah, but in Pro Q3 you can do it manually, you know, which does work, but I rather just do it in Soothe, since I have Soothe. It's a great plugin. I have it in the next track that I'm going to be showing you. So yeah, shaving off, or like getting rid of some, you know, peaking, irritating frequencies. OTT 37%. Then I used K-Clip, which is a cool plugin. I honestly don't even use it that often anymore, and I actually should use it more. It's a multi-band clipper, which can work pretty well on the master. What I did notice though, I made this project I guess like a year ago, and since then, K-Clip has been updated, and I noticed that the song actually sounds different. So I guess that something changed in the plugin. It's still a nice plugin though, like the whole idea of a multi-band clipper sounds great. I should really use it more. So yeah, K-Clip really pumped up the highs a lot. I tried to leave the low end alone because if you distort the low end, it's just gonna take up more headroom. So it'll be hard to like push your master. You want to keep your low end. You want to like tame it so that it doesn't take up a lot of headroom. Then Clip Shifter, my favorite clipping plugin. Same shit. Pulling it down. Pro L. Why do you load your samples into Ableton Sampler rather than just putting the audio file directly into the playlist? Because I love the sampler more, because the sampler gives you an envelope and stuff, and also the fact that you can have patterns, and it works better for myself. I like it more than using audio clips for drums. Did you work with OTT on the master already? No, I always leave my master all the way blank, all the way till I'm done writing the whole song. That's when I'll start mastering. So yeah, Clip Shifter, Pro L, and then I use this plugin from Waves to like check the LUFS. It works pretty well. And then here I also use the Spectrum to check the sub level. Nowadays I use Voxengo Span instead of the Ableton Spectrum. But this works well. There's this video in which Mr. Bill explains that he uses the Spectrum to check how loud the sub is all the way at the end of the mastering chain. Because that's how you can I guess it's like a bench test for the song. Like if the sub is loud enough and it's not clipping or it doesn't sound ugly, then you know that the song is alright. But now I just use Voxengo Span. But yeah, I think I'm gonna show you the other song, Hive Mind. Are there any more questions about this one before I switch to the next project? Man, I already spent 45 minutes going through this project, and I feel like I rushed. And I also feel like I haven't covered everything I should. What plugin for LUFS? That's WOM Plus. It's from Waves. It's in the Waves suite. It works pretty well. I always use it. I know a lot of people also like using Ulean, but I use this one. So yeah, do you prefer to master in the actual project or in a separate? So I used to master in a separate project when my computer wasn't able to handle mastering in its own project. But now on this computer, I can, as you can see, it's only at like a little less than 30. Which is great when I have a whole mastering chain on and everything. Like the only thing I had to bounce was the cymbal, and it works great, So it really, to me, it depends on the computer. If my computer wouldn't be able to handle it, I would just be mastering in a separate project. So yeah, I'm gonna show you Hive Mind. Let's go. Don't save. Come on. Do you reference the Spectrum Analyzer while mixing, mastering dubstep to get the mix to look a certain way in the Spectrum? Yeah, I do it in the end. And, no, I master all the way at the end of writing the tune. I try to write the whole thing, and mixing always at the end, yeah. Because I feel like if I start mastering when I'm actually still writing the track, it's just going to sit in the way of my creative process. So I always just try to do it at the end. Oh man, this is taking long. uh, there we go. See, this project is way bigger. It's at 60. What do you do if you're not feeling creatively inspired in the studio, and how do you try and get inspired? Well, I used to have more trouble being inspired. I guess like until up to like a year ago. And I really noticed it myself that the most important thing is to just write even when you don't feel like it. At least like spend an hour a day to write something, because or else it'll just, I don't know, like it's the whole idea of an apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? You just have to keep writing, and even if you're writing something you don't like, just do it. Cuz or else yeah, that's, I feel like for me that's when the inspiration just goes away. And now I'm at a point where I can sit down almost any time and write something. And if I notice that I'm not enjoying what I'm writing, then I'll just do something else. So yeah. So okay, Hive Mind. I guess most of you know the song, at least I hope so. Yeah. Let's go. So, at the beginning, this cool thing. It's I think it's a sample from a Blue Zone pack. And what I did is I took, like, it's two beeps basically, and I pitched it down to get like a didun instead of a didin. So yeah, that's that. Put some reverb on it, high cut. That's all. And then there's this, which comes up. Yeah, this is pretty interesting. So, this sound without corpus sounds like this. Then with corpus, it sounds metallic. Corpus is a really cool way of making things sound as if they're coming straight out of a factory, So yeah, did that. Low cut, high cut, compression, filter, some reverb, and an OTT. I got rid of the lowest band because I didn't want any lows in the sound anyway. So yeah, that's that. What else? Once the reference I will never finish, and he said just consider it as a practice. But yeah, anything you do is practice. Cosmo's right. Yeah, don't look at the names. Some of them I didn't even rename. Others, they're like, here, there's 5 things called Phil. But everything has its own color, at least. That's important. Intro shaker. Just a Cashmere sample, I think. Auto pan. What else? So this is, I actually bounced it out because I wanted to stretch it. Or at least, I think I bounced it out and then, stretch it and then, consolidated that. But this is really just, it's just a saw from Massive, 2 voices and a slight detuning. And, and I think there's also a little bit of like very slow vibrato on the pitch. Yeah. Blade Runner type shit. And then there's this thing. What's this? Oh, these are bells from Purity, which I bounced so that I could stretch them. I bounced them, I think I bounced them with reverb and then sent it through reverb again. Here I'm using Tora Verb again, low cutting and stuff. Here's the Chain Shaper plugin. And then throughout the whole intro I have this thing running. So it's Oh wait. How do you do collabs when unable to meet the other artists? Do you just send the projects and stems back and forth? Yeah, that's what we do. We just, retransfer or whatever. If the other person is if the other person is in Ableton and they're in the same version, then we can just share projects, but more often than not, that's not the cause. So then we just share stems, and most of the time it works. Yeah, that's how we do it most of the time. Ears versus eyes. Speaking of some mixing decisions, both. I use both. Don't let your ears yeah, just use them both. If something sounds good, but then you open it up in an analyzer, like for example a master, and you open it up in an analyzer, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, then there's probably something wrong in the mix. So I would then go back and actually listen to it or compare it to other music. So yeah, just use both your ears and your eyes. Don't let your eyes do all of the work, and don't let your ears do all of the work, because my ears have deceived me before, so I definitely try to use both. Um then what else? Oh, the stutter effect. I think the stutter is just auto pan. And because if you set the phase to 0, it just becomes a tremolo plugin. Zal ik een beetje Nederlands praten? No, I'm not going to speak Dutch. How often do you use Corpus? Not that often, but if I'm like, oh, let's make this sound metallic, then I'll use Corpus. What about when the other artist uses Fruity Loops? Yeah, then we just use stems. Just export out the stems and share the stems. Yeah, there's definitely some people I've collabed with that use Fruity Loops, and it works out, if you know how to work with stems, and it can be something that you have to get used to before. So yeah. The rest, 070, je weet toch? So the rest of the project. This is Cashmere Loop. But I think that I set it to beats and then set it to transient and then cut it off a little. Yeah, just to, give it the 16th notes. Make them clear. It's not that big of a thing. Here I did the same thing as in the other one where I used AutoPan as a tremolo plugin, just by turning off the phase. I used autofilter to high cut, then I used Saturn. I don't know why I did that. Oh wait, actually I know what happened. This sound and this one are the same, but this one I used for the low end, so I could process the low end separately. And together. So yeah. Then there is this clap. Speaks for itself. Shaker. Think already. Yeah, this one starts earlier in the song. This one is just called Shit 2. This is the metallic one. And then there's this. What's this? Oh yeah, more metallic sounding stuff. Where I used AutoPan again to do the same thing with the tremolo. Yeah, I guess AutoPan actually AutoPan is a tremolo plugin. They just call it AutoPan, but it's actually tremolo. Yeah, a whole bunch of risers, cool, just movie type samples. Lots of Cashmere stuff. Yeah, let's see what else. I think that's kind of it. So yeah. Then there's this vocal. I don't know who noticed it, but it's Elon Musk. And I appreciate that, Alex. The Cashmere samples are really good. I think, as I said earlier in the stream, if you can use samples or presets but still fit them in your own context, I think that there's absolutely no shame at all. But if it becomes really recognizable, then I think you should definitely try to put more effort into finding other samples or manipulating samples. You know, I mean, the Kashmir samples are really good, and so that also means that they're great for manipulating and making them sound different. What is the best mixing tip you can give? Always check your levels, balance things. Do you check your mix in mono? Actually, I don't. I never do that. So yeah, this is Elon Musk in the Joe Rogan podcast. I always just try to look for cool stuff, you know, like sci-fi stuff, cyberpunk type shit. I mean, what he says here, that's really cool. He's literally talking about AI. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna sample that. So yeah, actually, what I did before, I put serum and I put the downsample distortion on it, and then I bounced it. So sadly, I can't show you that anymore. Then I put a gate on it to get rid of unnecessary noise. But finally, I also just decided to like cut everything. Then reduce ambience. Same reason. Finally, it wasn't even necessary because I decided to cut everything which I didn't want anymore, which is definitely a good thing to do for like vocal comping and stuff. Because you know you just want the words. You want nothing else. So I cut everything out that I didn't need. Whole bunch of highs added here. Serum effects. I used the hyper. I used it on its default setting, which I do for a lot of things. It's cool because it actually kind of sounds like a flanger. And also makes it stereo. Or like more stereo. Then... Oh wait. Forgot to move it to the right. Yeah, so it's hyper on its default setting. And then another serum effects, tube distortion, you know, not too much. Almost 50%. Pro Q. More boosting, some cutting. Here, I don't know. Yeah, so I guess here I just wanted to get rid of some harsh frequencies over here. I don't know why I bounced or why I boosted this here, but it sounds alright, I guess. And then I used the ozone imager to make it more stereo. What else? Okay, so here's another delay. I for this delay I used the so-called Haas effect, which basically means taking like the left. I made the right signal come in a little later than left, which makes it more stereo. The difference is huge. And then this is just the delay on fours, ping pong, some reverb, heavy compression to bring out the reverb and delay more. EQ, some OTT, got rid of some highs over here, and here is Soothe, the best plugin in existence. I love this plugin. It does all the work you don't want to do yourself. And Pro L to boost it. Okay. What's the purpose of switching between EQ8 and Pro Q3? So I like to use EQ8 for like very simple things, and I like to use Pro Q3 for like more like detailed stuff. I'll like, for example, if I want to split a bass sound, like split the everything over 100 hertz and everything under, I'll use Pro Q because it phases less. Like, it causes less problems, or phasing problems. Whereas the EQ8 is not as surgical, you know? So for, like, very precise and detailed work, I rather use Pro Q3. And for quick stuff like this, I'll just use the EQ8 because it's just quick, you know? It's right there. But for, like, important things that like a sound, if I absolutely don't want to damage it or whatever, then I'll use Pro Q3. What else? So... yeah, here the synths come up. I'll just show them during the drop. Is there anything else I should show? I don't think so. Well, yeah, for example, here, you'll notice that everything mutes except for the noise that's playing over here. And I think that is a very cool thing to do. It definitely gives things way more impact when there's like only one sound playing. So yeah, I just wanted to show that real quick. So let's move on to the drop. I bought Soothe. So I can't yeah, I can't help you on that. Is it possible to overuse Soothe? I feel like I just throw it on everything. Well, I mean, the thing is, you definitely, I feel like if you use it too much or on every element, it might kill your sound. It might, like, make things sound way less alive. So I definitely try to not, I don't use it on everything. I mostly just use it on a master, and if I notice that a sound just has too much, like, peaking frequencies. Um, so yeah, that's why I use Soothe a lot. So yeah, that's what Brett's saying. You don't want to overuse it. You want to use it like strategically or where you feel that it's needed. You know, like if you're gonna put it on every sound, your track is just gonna sound dead. You know. So yeah, onto the drop. So, the leads. First, you'll see two ghost tracks. So, this one is very short, but you can't even hear it. Or wait. Well, anyway, it's a very short noise, I guess like a pluck or whatever. And I put it before the reverb because I noticed that with a lot of lead sounds, the attack of the lead sound can cause a lot of mud in the reverb. So by using this little pluck and then sidechaining that before the reverb in the send, you can get rid of that muddiness that gets caused by the attack of a synth. So, or maybe I even didn't use it anymore. Oh, look here. Is that it? No, it's not it. At least it's something I often do. I realized that I actually turned it off in this project, but it's a trick I learned from a Kashmir video, and it works pretty well. But I guess in this sound it doesn't really do much. Or at least I realized it didn't really do much, so I turned it off. What I did do before the reverb on the send is a low cut to get rid of muddiness once again. But yeah, then the other one, this one. This plays the exact same pattern as the leads, and I use it as a sidechain input on the reverb. Cause look, it pushes the reverb away, and then when it doesn't play, the reverb comes back. So I use that as a sidechain input instead of the lead sound itself, because the noise is like, you know exactly what it's doing, and it's just a stable sound. You know, like a lead sound or whatever can have. It's more complex than just a white noise input, so I like to use a white noise to as a sidechain input for like reverb and stuff. Yes, I will be showing you the resound in a couple seconds. How do you mix your bass? When I listen to my tracks on SoundCloud with earbuds, karaoke speakers, or headphones, my bass is either too thin, too low. I don't know. I mean, I guess the balance is important. You don't want it to be too loud, and you also don't want it to be too soft. It's important that it pokes through the mix, you know? So I guess it's like, it really depends mostly on your, on the sound design of the bass sound itself. And also, the key, yeah. What's the extent of your music theory knowledge? Well, I used to play drums, so I know some terms, but for example, like, I don't know scales. More often than not, I'll probably won't be able to like to hear the difference, or at least I guess in a lot of situations I would not be able to hear the difference between a minor or a major chord. Um, and yeah, I mean sometimes like if you hear a major or a minor chord without a context, like without like a whole chord progression, sometimes it can be harder to like hear the difference. So it's I guess my theory knowledge is it's okay. I know like I know more about time signatures and stuff than I know about like scales and chords and all that stuff. So yeah, the sound design of the lead. I was gonna go into it, but thanks. So, can you show a bit more of the sound design of the lead? So the lead is a whole bunch of layers. This is basically the main one. I think in the group it's the loudest. And then the rest. The rest are all just to fill it up. And that's something I learned from a hardstyle as well, is that to make a lead sound thicker, you just want more layers. So yeah. They're all Spire. All four oscillators. Lots of detuning, me. And I also put an envelope on the pitch, a short envelope, just to give it some more attack. So yeah, they're all just saws. Then this oscillator is an octave higher. I love Spire. I use it for everything, the bass sound as well. Is the noise sidechaining the reverb send muted? Yeah, so you can actually mute a channel and still have it send out a sidechain signal. So that's how I did that. Yes, Twisty 2 knob, you know what's up. Aspire the best synth for these kinds of wave sounds. Well, yeah, the thing is, this is hardstyle sound design, and a lot of wave sounds are actually there's basically either a lot of it is trance or like synthwave or hardstyle sounds, and a lot of these producers they use Spire or Silent, so that's why I was like, oh, let me just use that. What's your process for coming up with these melodies? Damn, I really just sit down and either use my computer keyboard or my MIDI keyboard. And now for a while I haven't even had my MIDI keyboard hooked up. I often just use my computer keyboard to like get something going, and then I'll record that, and then I'll go into the piano roll and just write the rest. Yeah, but this one I remember coming up with it, or I came up with the intervals on my MIDI keyboard, and then I went into the piano roll and kind of wrote the whole melody. And that's kind of how I do all my melodies most of the time. Yeah, and it's really I like sometimes I'll literally sit for like 3 hours until I have a good melody. Like sometimes it can take ages, and like to me a good melody has a feeling or like a vibe, and it also has to be catchy, like it has to be something that'll stick in your head. So yeah, that's kind of, I just keep just playing around, either playing on the keyboard or just in the piano roll until I have something that sounds good. It's a lot of, I guess, experimenting, and just finding cool notes that sound well together and then writing a melody with those. That's often what I do. How did you came up with all the EQ for having those many layers? So yeah, every layer needs to have its own spot, right? So this one, I think actually a lot of these might have the same EQing. Some of them don't even have EQing. But for example, this one I boosted a little lower. Also because it plays a lower octave than the lead. Oh no, it doesn't. But it has like more mids because it's distorted. Or is it higher or lower? No, I think they're actually the same octave. But yeah, I decided to boost here more because there's like more content here that I want to be heard in like the whole scheme of things. Then this one is very screechy, so I boosted it where the most of the screechiness is, I guess, and then distorted it a little. Yeah, I mean, I try to like with so many layers, I definitely listen more than I look. But if I'm like, oh, I want to bring this layer more forward, I'll just try to find where the essence is of the sound in the spectrum, and then just boost that part with an EQ, and that's how you can like puzzle the whole thing together. But I think one of the most important things, especially here, is that the lead is the loudest. Like this one, it's almost 6 decibels louder than the rest. So yeah. Yeah. So that's for the leads. How can you make your leads wide but mono compatibility at the same time? Oh wait, do you use Serum very much? No, I don't really like Serum, honestly. I often use Massive. How can you make your leads wide but mono compatible at the same time? Actually, I don't even really think about it, but if you have like 8 voices playing, or 7 voices, or 16 voices, there's going to be voices going through the middle as well. So, yeah. Like, the only way that a lead would completely disappear is if it's like 2 voices and they're like panned and they're like all the way wide. So there's literally no mono content anymore. Or maybe if you have a lead with like 16 voices and you put a Haas effect on it, the delay trick where right comes later than left, or vice versa, maybe then you'll lose mono content, but I don't recommend using the Haas effect on a lead. How do you avoid resonancies on your leads? EQing. If I notice in Soothe, I mean, at the end of my chain here, there's Soothe, of course. When you got a melody progression, do you evolve it by thinking in patterns like ABAC or similar? Yeah, so I'll try to have the end of the first 8 bars be different than the end of the second 8 bars. But often I also just replace the whole melody and lead sounds with like cool samples. Like here, the last beat is just blank. So then I won't even like change it. And then for the melodies themselves, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that the beginning of this and the beginning of that, they're pretty similar. Like, they follow the same pattern, and that makes for like more catchiness, if there's like a reoccurring pattern throughout the whole melody. Like this melody, it's only 2 bars, but the pattern that it goes through is the same during both, you see? And it does that the whole time. The whole time it's the same pattern, but it's different notes. And you can also see that the notes, they're like, they go steps up and steps down. They're like stairs, So I guess like in your head, it makes more sense when you hear a melody like that, when it like goes, I guess up and down in like a logical way, or if there's like notes repeating and stuff like that. So yeah. Do you test your tracks mix by listening to it through phone earbuds, before posting? Yeah, I reference my tracks a lot. I always just reference with my speakers on my headphones. I have Mackie monitors and with a sub, and these Biodynamics DT990 Pros. They're great, so I always just use these for referencing. I don't really use much else, honestly. Does the Ghost channel duck all of the lead synth channels, or just the side ones to clean up space for the main one? Wait. No, these Ghost channels, they duck the reverb. They don't duck the lead sounds themselves. They only duck the reverb. So you don't bother taking off the reverb delay off each layer. You mean like Inspire? I mean, there's no delays on the. They're all just going through the same send. But on the layers themselves, there's no reverb or delay effects, unless I'm understanding your question wrong. How do you know when you're done layering a sound, and how that adding anything more would just be making it muddy? I don't know. Like, I just do it until it sounds good, until it sounds full. That's kind of what I go for. I try to, yeah, I just try to do it that way. My headphones are just plugged into my laptop right now. I have a Focusrite Scarlett 16i or 18i6. Yeah, so it's a pretty big one. But the headphone plug doesn't really work that great, so I just use my laptop. Do you use multiple LFOs for different intensity of sidechain on the different elements like bass? No, they all have the same LFO, or they all have the same sidechain. So literally every element over here and all the effects, they go through this sidechain bus. And it just has this chain shaper plugin on it, and that's the sidechain I use for everything. So everything goes through this one channel, and that's just my sidechain bus. Can you show us how you processed each layer of your bass? Yeah, okay, so bass. The bass is interesting too. So this one, I think this is just 3 voices. Also Inspire. 3 voices, that's all. 1 oscillator, 3 voices, OTT, a vocoder, more OTT, Saturn to bring up a bit of the like mid-highs. I did that because the highs were too much after OTTing. Pro Q, cut off the lows, boost some of the like over here. This makes it extra gritty. And then kind of the same thing here, added some more mids. And then there's this one. And this one also just to add some more grittiness. This synth... Oh, wait, actually, I forgot to... Let me show you the first layer again, Inspire. Sorry. Yeah, so just a saw, 3 voices, that's all. That's really all it is. No other processing whatsoever. And then... And yes, exactly, the biodynamics. What verbs are you running on your sends? Also, how does your sidechain system work with chain shaper? So I mostly... Wait, let me show you the bass first, and then I'll show you the reverbs and the sidechaining. So the second layer of the bass is this. Siri keeps popping up. This is actually a preset, and it's actually a lead preset. Wait. It's just a lead preset, and I was like, oh, let me just, you know, put it down a few octaves and use it as a bass. Yeah, so that's the second layer, just to add like more grittiness to it, because as you can hear, it sounds pretty gritty. And then there's this one. This one is just a sine wave. This is like the sub layer. And then there's this one, which is a brass from a cashmere pack for extra mids, which can work pretty well. It gives it more of like an organic sound, I guess. They're not even that loud. I kind of just mix them in until I can barely hear them. So yeah, that's the bass. And what's funny is that there's reverb on this layer from the preset. I guess I didn't bother to take it off. in this instance I didn't. Yeah, so that's that. What are your thoughts on Sonarworks reference? My thoughts, I think it can work pretty well. I honestly have never bothered with it because then I'd have to buy it, and yeah, I don't know. I also just don't really feel like I really need it. I'm really used to my setup right now, so I don't really feel like I should try to use something like that, because it probably would just confuse my ears and it'll take another month before I'm used to it again. So I'm not going to use it. And I mean, after this, I'd like to just have a treated room anyway, where I wouldn't have to use anything like that anyway. So yeah, but I can imagine for people with rooms where, for example, the bass resonates too much, or if it's like a room where there's a tons. Well, actually, with reflection, it won't really hurt. It won't really help. But I mean, even in a room where there's a lot of resonating frequencies, it's literally like all Sonarworks does is EQing. So, and there's a lot of situations where it won't even work. I guess there's enough situations where it might be helpful, but personally, I'm not gonna bother using something like that. I'd rather just get used to my setup, and if the room resonates too much, then I would just get bass traps and stuff instead of trying to use like basically an EQ. But for some people, it helps. It's really just my opinion on it. Plans for 2021. Well, I mean, if things are possible, Russia, USA, merchandise, cool releases. Yeah, I think next year things are gonna go down if we're able to do things at least. Do you use ANA? No, I don't. I don't know what that is. I should look it up. Um, Actually, I also want to show you the hardstyle kick. Actually, I can't even show you that much of it because it's all like bounced stuff. Oh yeah, I definitely would like to come to the UK. If yeah, I mean once if there's a show in the UK, I'll come regardless. I'll be there. It's like it's $100 for me to fly over there. So I'll be there definitely. I just hope it's possible, man. This COVID stuff is really it's sad. But yeah, hardstyle kick. So I used one layer to pitch it, which is this one. And I actually wait. Oh shit. Let me turn this off. No input. Okay. Yeah, so I actually made the kick and the tail in a different project and then bounced the different pitches into this one. And the kick itself, I made it. I think I took a sine wave from Massive, put an envelope on it, distorted it, EQ, distortion, EQ, distortion, EQ, layering, grouping, distortion, EQ, all of that, and then the punch, the same story like this, or wait, lots of distortion and EQing, and this is the reverb. The reverb is literally this layer bounced into a new track, reverb on it, and then bounced again. And then, yeah. Hardstyle kick. I wish I could show you the whole process of making a hardstyle kick, but that takes long. And then after this, could you show that second lead that comes in at the second part of the drop? Oh, you mean the screech? Yeah, for sure. So that's this one. So this is Spire, once again. Oh. It's the Saw PWN, with some playing with the wavetables, settings and stuff. Basically it's just a pulse width modulation, waveform or wavetable. Slight detuning. The key here is the LFO on the pitch. So if I turn it off, and then here, low pass. Oh shit, forgot to move it. So I'm using the pulse width modulation wavetable, the Saw pulse width modulation wavetable, and played with the settings a bit. Three voices detuning. Yeah, so then there's the LFO here, which I just showed you. And that gives it like the screechy sound. Low pass filter, resonance up into the distortion module in Spire. Some EQ in Spire to boost some of the like mid highs, I guess. And then I actually drew the pitch envelope instead of using like the envelope Inspire. I just drew it. And yeah, Frontliner Hardstyle Kick on YouTube will definitely show you. That's what I learned from a lot. The Frontliner videos are really, really good. Yeah, I'm glad Alex said that. I totally forgot to mention that, actually. The Frontliner videos are really good for hardstyle kicks. And other hardstyle sound design. Actually, anything. They're really good. So yeah, that's that. Actually, then the kick drum during the drop. Oh wait, I think I tried out different kick drums. So there's this one. It's 2 layers. There's this one, which is this transient. And then there's the other one, which is the tail. And I used 2 different samples to like basically create my own kick. So to do that, I just here for this one, I took the decay envelope, or I turned down the decay, or turned down the sustain and made the decay really short. So yeah, I should check out the Zontac stuff. Would you want to do a beat session or workshop like this one in person if possible with COVID? Perhaps. Yeah, I mean, you can contact me for that. Just like hit me on Instagram or whatever, and we could discuss it. I've never done it actually, but perhaps, you know, it's actually considerable for me. Also, yeah, Nick, I was laughing about, and in my head I was laughing about it too. Inspire. I was laughing Inspire. Were there any...
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Are there any other questions? Yeah, I wish I could show you more of this track, but the 90 minutes are basically up right now. Yeah, you know, lots of effects. You know, it all makes for like more impact during the drop. The snare in this one is simple sample, EQ, saturator, you know, beef it up. And Waves Transx, which is also great. Yeah, what else could I show you? I think I showed you everything that's like important because the time is kind of up right now. What happened to the kick sample? What do you mean, what happened to it? How long have you been producing, and do you have any musical education? I've been producing for 10 years. I've had drum lessons, and I went to the Herman Brood Academy in Utrecht in Holland, where I learned a lot about producing as well. Okay, well, I'll just show you some more stuff then. So yeah, the snare is layered with a clap. I use Pro R as a reverb for it because you can shape it very easily. And together. And what's also important about this clap is that it has a pre-shift. So it actually hits before the actual note is, which gives it also a bit more impact. And then there's this layer. Hi-hats. 2 different hi-hats. I think they're actually the same hi-hats as I used in my song Apex, but just programmed differently. Then there's a break, an Amen sample in the, or an Amen sample in the back, which you can barely hear. You know, just to fill it up a little more. And you don't even hear this one, I think. I should have turned that one up before I exported it, because that's a pretty cool sound. Oh well. What else? Oh yeah, this is like as a fill together with this sound. So this sound, this little fill bass, it's actually exported from another song of mine called Street Shit. So a couple months ago, I took like an hour to just stem out all my dubstep stuff so that it could use the sounds as fills in other tracks. And it works great because now I just have a folder with like my own bass sounds and I can just use them whenever. So if you ever like, if you'd ever take the time, I recommend it. You know, it's very convenient to do. Yeah. Yeah, the almond sample's legendary. It works. It really works for like filling up, you know. Back in 2016, when I first heard one of your tracks, I've been listening since, but then we lived in the same city until. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, actually, not too long ago, someone told me that they thought I lived in Canada. I know that some people thought that I live in the UK. A lot of people assume I live in the US, but yeah, I'm Dutch. Yeah. So there's a bunch of other things also in the during the drop. There's this one, which actually it plays out throughout literally the whole track, which is a vocal sample with reverb and the tremolo autopan thing. I already showed it to you. And then there's this little chip, which I did make myself. Square LFO, you know, square shape LFO. Really not much to it. It's mostly the delay and the reverb that make it sound really interesting. And I decided to put the reverb as an insert on this track because or on this specific lead sound, because then I could compress it together with the lead sound. And if not, it would go through the same reverb as all the other sounds, but then it wouldn't have as much power, like you wouldn't hear it as well. So I decided to put it as an insert, put the dry wet on like, I guess it's like 60% or 70, and then compress it all together. And then there's this from my track Tums. Again, one of my own bass sounds, works great. What else should I show you? Yeah, so there's like a lot of effects, some white noise here, you know, just to fade in. Oh. It's really small things like those that can make a track way more interesting. I remember the first few times that I saw people's projects and there were like loads of effects channels and I was like, how? Like, why? But doing this really helps give your track a lot more impact and energy, you know? So yeah, that's, I guess, pretty important. And then there's, I think this riser I made in Massive. But it has to open up. Do you sidechain everything in your drops? Yeah. So everything is sidechained by this ghost signal, which is a kick sample. And this ghost signal goes through this sidechain plugin called Chain Shaper. And every sound goes through this sidechain bus. And I think for this track, for some reason, I also used a compressor. I think because I wanted to get rid of some stuff like that came in before the actual signal, like to use the look ahead, but finally I didn't even do that anymore. This is not something I would normally do, like use the chain shaper and the compressor. But yeah, so everything goes through the sidechain bus and it has chain shaper on it, and then the same chain shaper is on my reverb. And I actually used two reverbs for this song. I'll show you the other one in a minute. So it's yeah, the chain shaper is on every channel. So there's a second reverb which has way more high end, and it also gets pushed back way more. And for that one, I used a Valhalla Room because the Valhalla Room you can make it super sparkly with that. Like when you just open up the high cut completely, it becomes very. Uh, it just gets a lot of high end. It works really well for like hardstyle leads, you know. So mixed in with the other reverb, you get that. It gives that push and pull effect way more because the reverb has so much high end. You're thanks about my English. My dad is American. How do you make the division up to where a sound is not really noticeable, but actually bringing it a bit more to fill the spectrum versus a sound that would be same, not noticeable, but is actually getting too much in the way that shouldn't be there? If I understand the question right, is like how like what my decisions are based on filling up or not. I don't know. Like, I guess the lead sound is a good example because what I did I just had this one, but on its own I didn't find it to be as powerful as it could be. So then I just started making more layers and mixing them in until I could hear them, because you don't want them to take over, you know? And I guess I did the same thing with, for example, the almond break over here. And the thing is, you can't even really hear it. But I guess in a way, it still just kind of fills up, you know. It's I don't really. I think it's kind of just filling up. Because if I put it too loud, then you could actually hear an almond break, and I didn't want want that to happen either. You know, I just wanted this. I guess I just wanted this almond break to like fill up the empty space between the hi-hat hits. It's like somehow you can hear a difference when it's not there, but it's not really audible, you know? So yeah, that's kind of what I try to go for, you know, like it should be there, but not really. What artist introduced you to the wave genre, inspired you to make it? One of the first things for me when was Young Lean and Young Gud. Yeah, Kyoto, that song definitely was like a start for me. That was like, whoa, this is really cool. I want to make this as well. And that's when I started, you know, digging on SoundCloud, and I found like Wave Mob and Careful and, you know, all the different things. Missing No also was really important for me, still is. That's like he's made some of my favorite records ever. Yeah, huge inspirations. Thanks, Ernest. I played Very Rare by you at Leeds Fest a few. Oh, damn, that's really cool. The other DJs were into bassline, drum and bass, and didn't look too happy when I said I'm playing trap until the tune dropped, and then they were asking. That's really funny. That's really cool. Yeah, Ivy Lab played it too, and I was really surprised about that because they also don't really play that much trap stuff. You know, or at least back then, they mostly play halftime. You know, at least as far as I know. But yeah, I think this is actually about it. I'd like to thank everyone who was in the stream. If there's any more questions, ask them right now, because I think we're about to round it up. I definitely really enjoyed doing this. Really happy all of you showed up in here. And I'm really happy about the questions you asked me. It's feel like my what I tried to do here has been done. Thanks, Brett. Can you imagine what type of club could handle this type of music? I don't. It's just a gathering of artists like eminent wave pool lineup that can create the environment. I don't know about specific clubs, but yeah, you need a good crowd. I think America is becoming more and more used to this music, you know, because of the big support, like, you know, artists like Earl Grime and stuff. I think EDM crowd or people who like dubstep or trap could definitely really appreciate this kind of music. So yeah. Oh, you should definitely get Ivy Lab to do a workshop here. That would be really sick. For how long have you been producing? I've been producing for about 10 years. Do you plan to release all tunes that you make, or you make some songs with no? Well, yeah, I make every song I make it for myself, definitely. Like I make it for my own enjoyment, and then after that, I start thinking about what I should do for a release. And because of that, also a lot of music does not ever get released because, of course, I want to release on labels and stuff and blah 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 and release schedule and all that jazz. So yeah, I think that was it. I really appreciate everyone who was in the stream, who was in the chat. Hopefully, yeah, I guess like maybe next month or something, I could do another stream where I show you some more music or whatever feedback stream. I don't know, but yeah, really appreciate everyone. I hope you guys have a good day or a good night, depending on where you're based. So yeah, love everyone. Have a great night or day. See ya. Peace.